You're probably surrounded by advice right now. Advice on how to think, how to work, how to heal, how to succeed. It arrives dressed as care, wisdom, concern. And because it sounds helpful, you rarely question it. But what if most advice doesn't expand you at all? What if it slowly replaces your ability to think, decide, and grow on your own? Advice feels like relief. When you're uncertain, overwhelmed, or afraid of making the wrong move, being told what to do feels stabilizing. It quiets the internal noise. It gives you something to hold on to. And in a chaotic world, that can feel like safety. But here's the uncomfortable truth. The more advice you consume, the weaker a certain internal muscle becomes. The muscle responsible for judgment, experimentation, and self-trust. Advice doesn't just guide you. Over time, it trains you to wait. We live in an era where answers are always available. Infinite how-to videos, step-by-step frameworks, morning routines, life rules. There is always someone confident enough to tell you exactly what works. And because they speak with certainty, it's easy to assume they've solved something you haven't. But certainty is persuasive, not necessarily accurate. Advice is often optimized for simplicity, not truth. It compresses complexity into something repeatable. That compression is where your individuality gets erased. Most advice begins with an unspoken assumption that your situation is close enough to the advisor's situation that their solution will translate, that your psychology, resources, constraints, and timing are similar enough to follow the same path. This assumption is almost never examined. Instead, advice is offered as if human lives were interchangeable machines. Apply the method, get the result. When it doesn't work, the failure is quietly shifted onto you. You didn't execute properly. You didn't want it badly enough. You weren't disciplined enough. But what if the advice was never meant for you in the first place? Advice culture thrives on universality. The more people an idea can apply to, the more valuable it becomes in the marketplace. This is why so much guidance sounds vague but profound. Believe in yourself. Follow your passion. Just be consistent. These statements feel true because they're impossible to falsify. They don't confront reality, they float above it. The danger isn't that advice is wrong, it's that it bypasses context. And context is where growth actually happens. Your temperament, your history, your current capacity. Advice rarely accounts for these variables, yet they determine everything. There's another layer that's harder to admit. We often seek advice not to grow, but to avoid responsibility. Advice offers emotional insulation. If things fail, at least you followed the rules. At least you did what you were told. The pain feels less personal. This is why advice can become addictive. It reduces anxiety in the short term, even as it erodes confidence in the long term. Each decision outsourced feels harmless, but over time, you stop trusting your own perception. You hesitate without external confirmation. You second-guess instincts that used to guide you. At some point, you're no longer living your life. You're managing it through borrowed frameworks. Think about how often advice discourages experimentation. It warns you about mistakes before you've had a chance to make them. It teaches caution before competence. You're told what not to do long before you've learned what you can do. Mistakes aren't just errors, they're data. They train discernment. When advice prevents you from failing, it also prevents you from learning how to recover. You gain information, but you lose adaptability. This is especially damaging when advice is framed as moral truth, when certain paths are labeled right and others wrong. Suddenly, deviation feels dangerous, not exploratory. Growth becomes obedience with better branding, and this is where much of modern self-improvement quietly collapses. It claims to empower you, but it often standardizes you instead. It teaches you how to perform improvement, not how to cultivate judgment. You start asking, "What should I do?" instead of, "What am I noticing?" You search for validation instead of insight. Over time, your inner compass dulls, replaced by a constant scanning of external signals. If you've ever followed advice perfectly and still felt empty, this is why. The action wasn't rooted in you, it was imported. Not all advice is malicious. Most of it is well-intentioned, but intention doesn't negate consequence. Advice given without understanding your internal world can still suppress it. There's also the issue of outdated wisdom. Advice often lags behind reality. It's built for a different economy, a different culture, a different pace of life. What once protected people can now limit them. But because advice carries the weight of tradition or authority, it goes unquestioned. This is where discernment becomes more important than information. Growth isn't about collecting better advice. It's about developing the capacity to evaluate, adapt, and sometimes reject it. And that capacity only emerges when you start listening to yourself again. Not in a vague, motivational way, but through observation. Paying attention to how you respond to pressure. Noticing what energizes you after effort, not before it. Tracking patterns instead of chasing promises. If this reframing is already shifting how you see advice, take a moment to like the video. It helps signal that this deeper, more honest approach is worth continuing. The real alternative to advice dependency isn't isolation, it's selective engagement. You don't eliminate external input, you change your relationship to it. Advice becomes raw material, not instruction. Something to test, not obey. This requires a different posture, less passive, more experimental. You stop asking, "Is this the right advice?" and start asking, "What happens if I try this, given who I am and where I am right now?" That question returns authority to you. It accepts uncertainty as part of growth, not something to be eliminated. And it slowly rebuilds the skill most advice quietly replaces. Trust in your own capacity to figure things out. Advice becomes dangerous the moment it starts speaking louder than your own experience. At first, it feels efficient to rely on external rules. You skip uncertainty. You skip trial and error. You skip the discomfort of not knowing, but you also skip the moment where understanding actually forms. Self-discovery doesn't happen through instructions, it happens through friction. Through noticing how you respond when things don't go as planned. Through watching what collapses under pressure and what adapts. Advice often interferes with this process by stepping in too early, offering conclusions before you've gathered evidence. When someone tells you what works, they're often describing what worked for them in a specific context, their temperament, their timing, their constraints, their psychology. When you import that solution wholesale, you inherit assumptions that may not fit your reality at all. Over time, this creates a subtle internal confusion. You're doing the right things, but something feels off. Motivation fades quickly, progress feels brittle. You start blaming yourself when the real issue is misalignment between borrowed strategies and your actual nature. This is how advice suppresses intuition. Not by silencing it outright, but by crowding it out. Every internal signal is overridden by an external rule. You stop asking what feels sustainable and start asking what's recommended. You stop listening to feedback from your own nervous system and start trusting abstract principles instead. Eventually, even clear signals feel unreliable. You doubt your instincts. You hesitate at decisions you once would have made naturally. This isn't growth. It's dependency disguised as discipline. The most damaging advice often doesn't sound harmful at all. It sounds inspirational, motivational, optimistic, but it lacks friction. It offers encouragement without specificity, direction without grounding. It inflates hope without increasing capacity. Then there are the advisors who benefit from keeping you unsure. Gurus who sell clarity while subtly reinforcing confusion. Their guidance is just vague enough to always feel applicable, and just incomplete enough to require more content, more steps, more programs, more answers. This doesn't mean mentorship is useless. Real mentorship is contextual. It asks questions before giving answers. It adapts guidance to your actual situation, and most importantly, it aims to make itself unnecessary over time. Bad advice creates followers. Good guidance creates thinkers. There's also the issue of advice that simply expired. Much of what circulates today was shaped for a slower world. Different economic conditions, different attention demands, different social structures. Advice that once offered stability can now produce stagnation. But because advice carries authority, especially when repeated often, it resists revision. People follow outdated maps through unfamiliar terrain, wondering why they feel lost. The alternative isn't rejecting all advice. That would be another form of rigidity. The alternative is cultivating discernment, the ability to hold input lightly, to test ideas against reality instead of believing them because they sound right. This requires a shift in how you relate to learning. You stop treating advice as instruction and start treating it as hypothesis, something to experiment with, modify, or discard based on results. This puts you back in an active role. Instead of asking, "What should I do?" you begin asking, "What happens if I try this?" That single shift restores agency. It accepts uncertainty as part of growth rather than a problem to eliminate. Your inner compass doesn't develop through protection. It develops through use, through making decisions without guarantees, through surviving outcomes that didn't match expectations, through realizing that you can adjust, recover, and continue. This is why failure is so important. Advice tries to help you avoid it. Experience teaches you how to metabolize it. One builds caution, the other builds confidence. When you start trusting your capacity to adapt, advice loses its power to dominate you. You can listen without submitting, learn without shrinking, extract what's useful and leave the rest behind without guilt. If this perspective aligns with what you're trying to build internally, subscribe to Psyche Nomad. These conversations are about rebuilding internal stability in a world that profits from telling you what to do. The most reliable signal that you're on the right path isn't comfort, it's coherence, a sense that your actions, values, and energy are gradually aligning, even when the process is uncomfortable. Advice can't give you that. Only engagement can. So the next time you're tempted to search for the perfect rule, pause. Ask yourself whether you're looking for growth or relief, whether you're seeking understanding or permission. That distinction matters more than the advice itself. Your potential doesn't emerge by following instructions correctly. It emerges when you take responsibility for learning directly from your own life. Advice can inform that process, but it can't replace it. And once you see that clearly, you stop collecting answers and start building judgment.